About 5 months ago, on December 8, 2025, I published a short YouTube video discussing my 2026 SOXL exit plan. Since SOXL has absolutely surged since April 1, 2026, now is the perfect time to update my 2026 SOXL exit plan. I'll also explain in much greater detail what my SOXL Surge Strategy actually means and how you can apply it to your own investing. Let's review the historical data of SOXL and SOXX first. We know the leveraged semiconductor ETF, SOXL, moves in massive 2 to 4 year cycles of peaks and dips. Let me walk you through the 4 previous incredible runs of SOXL, and the numbers are going to blow your mind. The first major dip was at just 33 cents in October 2011. From that bottom, SOXL surged all the way to $2.83 in June 2016. That's an 8.6 times return in 3 years and 8 months. Already impressive, but it gets better. The second major dip hit 99 cents in February 2016. SOXL then ran all the way up to $22.07 by January 2020. That's a stunning 22.3 times return in 3 years and 11 months. Think about that. Anyone who bought near the bottom and held through the volatility multiplied their money over 22 times. The third major dip occurred at $3.57 in March 2020 during the COVID crash. From there, SOXL surged to $74.21 in January 2022. That's a remarkable 20.8 times return in just 1 year and 9 months. The speed of that recovery was absolutely incredible. The fourth major dip hit $6.21 in October 2022. SOXL then climbed all the way up to $70.08 by July 2024. That's an 11.3 times return in 1 year and 9 months. Even the weak run still delivered over 11 times your money. Since the new SOXL cycle started at $7.23 in April 2025, let's project the potential target for this current run. This is where it gets really interesting. In terms of duration, based on historical patterns, SOXL could peak anywhere between 1 year and 9 months to 3 years and 11 months from the bottom. So, using the shorter duration of 1 year and 9 months, SOXL could peak as early as January 2027. If we use the longer duration of 3 years and 11 months, SOXL could peak as late as March 2029. In terms of target price, this is where things get exciting. By applying those historical return multiples to our current cycle starting point of $7.23, the price could range anywhere from $62 using the most conservative 8.6 times return, all the way up to an astonishing $161 using the most aggressive 22.3 times return. Now, some of you might argue that the first run and second run could be merged together since SOXL only dropped 65% from $2.83 down to 99 cents in 2016. You're absolutely correct that a 65% drop is not particularly rare in SOXL investing. In fact, just 1 month ago, we witnessed a 45% drop from $72.36 on February 25, 2026 down to $39.52 on March 30, 2026. This 65% drop in 2016 is actually the smallest compared to the other 4 major drops. The other drops were far more severe, including the 74% drop from $1.26 to 33 cents in 2011, the devastating 84% drop from $22.07 to $3.57 in 2020, the brutal 92% drop from $74.21 to $6.21 in 2022, and the 90% drop from $70.08 to $7.23 in 2025. So if we combine the first run and second run together, as shown in this orange arrow on the chart from 2011 to 2020, that's an absolutely mind-blowing 67 times return from 33 cents all the way to $22.07 over 9 years. If we calculate the target price of our current run based on this 67 times return, the target price would be an incredible $484. So the current run could potentially reach anywhere in a very broad range from $62 on the low end to $484 on the high end. That's a massive range, so is there anything useful we can learn from these historical data points? First, since SOXL has historically run at least 8.6 times from the bottom price as demonstrated in the 2011 to 2015 run, we can wait comfortably without selling until SOXL hits at least 8.6 times from the bottom. Using our current bottom of $7.23, that gives us a minimum target of about $62. Second, if you're willing to be patient and perhaps a bit greedy, you may wait without selling until SOXL hits something closer to the 67 times return from the bottom price as shown in the combined 2011 to 2020 run. However, in this scenario, you have to be mentally and emotionally prepared to endure significant drawdowns like the 65% drop that happened in 2016. This is where SOXL investing becomes truly forgiving if you understand that SOXL will eventually go higher over the long term. Let me give you a real example. If you failed to sell at the peak price of $2.83 in June 2015, you would have had to wait until August 2016 to see that same price of $2.83 again. That's about 14 months of waiting through volatility. But here's the most important lesson about patience. If you want to know the duration of the longest wait from a previous peak to recovery, the answer is 4 years and 3 months. If you bought SOXL at the absolute peak price of $74 in January 2022, you had to wait for 4 years and 3 months until April 2026 to finally see another $74. This teaches us a powerful and crucial lesson. SOXL will eventually post new all-time high prices if we're willing to wait for 4 years or more. Patience is absolutely critical. For additional analysis and confirmation, I'm also using SOXX as a reference. Remember, SOXL is a 3 times leveraged ETF. It amplifies the daily moves of SOXX, which tracks top US semiconductor stocks like Nvidia, Intel, Broadcom, and AMD. A 1% move in SOXX aims for a 3% move in SOXL, but remember that leverage cuts both ways. Let's review the 4 previous SOXX runs since 2011. Run 1, SOXX went from $14.50 in October 2011 to $33.90 in June 2015. That was a 2.3 times return in 3 years and 8 months. Run 2, from $24.30 in August 2015 to $89.80 in February 2020. That was a 3.7 times return in 4 years and 6 months. Run 3, from $55.90 in March 2020 to $186.30 in January 2022. That was a 3.3 times return in just 1 year and 9 months. Run 4, from $95.90 in October 2022 to $267.20 in July 2024. That was a 2.8 times return in 1 year and 9 months. Just as we did with SOXL, if we combine the first run and second run as shown in this orange arrow from 2011 to 2020, that's a 6.2 times return from $14.50 all the way to $89.80 over 9 years. Our current run started on April 7, 2025, at $148.30. Applying the historical percentage gains to this starting point, SOXX could potentially top out anywhere between $341 using the most conservative 2.3 times return, all the way up to $919 using the most aggressive 6.2 times return. So what's my actual plan? As I described in my short video from December, I still have essentially the same exit plan with some refinements. I plan to start selling portions of SOXL when SOXX reaches about $500, or in October 2026, whichever comes first. Even when I do sell, I will only sell a small portion of SOXL initially, maybe just 10% to 30% of my total shares. Then, if SOXL continues climbing, I may gradually sell up to 50% of my SOXL position. Crucially, I will then buy SOXL again later when it drops to lower prices than my selling prices. Of course, this target price and timing can be adjusted flexibly as market conditions evolve. Let me give you the current numbers as of yesterday, April 30, 2026. The closing price of SOXX was $461 and the closing price of SOXL was $127. When my short video was created back on December 7, 2025, SOXX was only $309 and SOXL was only $46. Look at that incredible move! The current SOXL price of $127 is almost 3 times the $46 price from my short video just 5 months ago. Now let's dive deep into what I call the SOXL Surge Strategy. I coined this term SOXL Surge Strategy back in 2024 to describe my systematic approach to trading SOXL. The strategy has 8 key characteristics and actionable plans that guide all my decisions. First, understand that SOXL is highly affected by the semiconductor sector's pronounced business cycles. SOXL moves in huge 2 to 4 year cycles of peaks and dips. Major peaks and major dips appear every 2 to 4 years with remarkable consistency. Second, recognize that major dip prices trend progressively higher in each successive cycle. Look at the pattern: 33 cents in 2011, 99 cents in 2016, $3.57 in 2020, $6.21 in 2022, and $7.23 in 2025. Each bottom is higher than the previous bottom. Similarly, major peak prices also trend higher in each cycle: $1.26 in 2011, $2.83 in 2015, $22.07 in 2020, $74.21 in 2022, $70.08 in 2024, and most recently $127 on April 30, 2026. Third, SOXL investing profits can be dramatically maximized by strategically buying the dips and selling near the peaks. It's a long-term swing approach tied closely to SOXX and SOXL price trends. Historically, the peak price of SOXL can be anywhere between 8.6 times and 67 times from the bottom price in each cycle. In most typical cases, the peak price of SOXL tends to be between 10 times and 20 times from the bottom price in each cycle. So my strategy is to consider selling some portion of SOXL when it reaches between 10 times and 20 times from the cycle bottom price. Fourth, and this is absolutely critical, do not sell more than 50% of your SOXL position, since we can never know the exact peak price in each cycle with certainty. Even if you sell SOXL too early and it continues climbing, the remaining 50% of your SOXL holdings will continue going up during an extended bull market. This protects you from missing massive gains. Fifth, after successfully selling a portion of SOXL at higher prices, always try to buy SOXL again later at lower prices than your selling prices. This is how you accumulate more shares over complete cycles and compound your wealth faster. Sixth, in cases of major dips, defined as more than 65% drop from the peak prices, try to buy SOXL as aggressively as possible. The drop rates of the 5 previous major dips ranged from 65% all the way to 92% from the peak prices in each cycle. These extreme fear moments are the absolute best times to buy the dip and maximize your future returns. Seventh, try to avoid frequent selling of SOXL to minimize paying transaction fees and capital gains taxes. If possible, conduct all your SOXL trading inside a Roth IRA account for maximum tax benefits. The tax savings over decades can be absolutely enormous. Eighth and finally, if you're not sure what to do or you lack confidence in your timing, just keep holding SOXL without selling it at all. Why? Because SOXL will eventually hit the previous all-time high prices later. History shows it usually takes about 1 to 2 years to hit the previous high SOXL peaks after a crash. The longest wait from a previous peak to recovery was 4 years and 3 months. Since I plan to invest in SOXL for 30 years or more, I have more than enough time to recover and profit in any scenario. That's the SOXL Surge Strategy update. If this update added value for you and helped clarify how to approach SOXL investing systematically, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from you and answering your questions. Stay disciplined, stay patient, and keep building that wealth mindset. I'll catch you next month with another update. Peace out, SOXL family.